All right, welcome back. You're with us here on Opening Fire. You got the market, which is down 26 points, 694,849 is where we are at this point in time. Let's just talk to the management at JubilantFoodWorks. Mr. Ajay Kaul is joining us. He's CEO at the company. As always, it's a pleasure, Mr. Kaul. Thank you for joining in. You know, macros were tough and markets are tougher now.
Thank you.
And I think that shows up in various businesses as well. Same-store sales growth, for example, in your case, is slowed to 2%. One is not surprised, of course, given the tough macros. But as always, let's just begin by that. Just qualitatively tell us what happened in the quarter. What did you see?
Thanks to you and to all your viewers. You know, it's just been the extension of the same, more of the same, I would say, unfortunately. You know, we always look forward to giving some news as the market leader, which will probably give positivity and some sort of signal to you guys and even to the market that there's something really exciting happening. You know, quantitatively, if I have to say, statistically significant shifts in consumer sentiment has not been witnessed. If you look at our numbers, we are still ahead of the curve. We are still gaining market share. We are the largest player. We are the largest player in the pizza space by a yard. But having said that, you know, the consumer sentiment is not changing. And while earlier we used to sometimes, you know, we had said a few times that in 3 to 4 quarters, we would probably start hitting a high single-digit same-store growth number. We actually are kind of withdrawing that statement. Being a conservative company, we realized that our positivity was probably not what the market, you know, reacted to, in the sense, you know, we didn't expect this period of proactive be protracted like the way it is. So I would say the consumption story is still firmly in place. The middle of the pyramid opportunity is what we are banking upon still. We are making all our investments in that zone, and I can talk about it in a moment. But yeah, in the interim, which is like right now, the consumer sentiment is still tepid and is not reflective of a lot of positivity.
When you say you're withdrawing your earlier statement, and earlier statement was expect high single-digit growth in a few quarters, right? Why are you deciding to withdraw that statement? I mean, what was prompting you? Is it just, I mean,
not for any other reason, honestly. It's like, if you have seen otherwise, we are a fairly conservative company. We don't like speaking. We don't give guidance. We don't like speaking ahead of the curve and so on that much, other than probably talking about new store opening, which we have been constantly, you know, saying and kind of meeting that number. You know, when we said this, we were honestly very positive that how long actually can this period of dampened consumer sentiment last? It can't be protracted. It can't go over 2 years and all that. So we took that call and put that bold foot forward that no sentiment will change. We are the leader in the pack, and we will probably ride this curve ahead of anybody else. While we have still been kind of beating everybody else, you know, and so on, but honestly, it has got a bit more protracted than we had thought. So rather than sticking our neck out and making a statement which the market is not responding to, we don't want to, as a company which is very, very measured in its guidance and what we say. It's quite possible, honestly, and I hope it happens that in 2-3 quarters, actually we end up being in that place. But we don't want to now put a number on that, and that's the position we are taking. We don't want to put a number and say that in 3 quarters, 4 quarters time, we will be at, let's say, a high single-digit same-store growth. We hope still, however, that we may land up there.
Yeah. Well, you know, so your same-store sales growth in the previous 3 quarters was ranged between, 3 to 6 to 7%, in that range. It slowed to 2% in this quarter, the October to December quarter. I mean, any issues specifically you saw here in the quarter? Or it's just, I mean, the slowdown is getting steeper now.
Not really. You know what?
Spending,
not really. While I agree that, you know, between a 6 and a 2 and 3, there may be, you know, numerically a bit of a difference. But from a consumer sentiment perspective, or the way we see it, the way we analyze and kind of cut open our data, split it in various ways, there isn't any change. It's more reflective of how the last year same quarter was, and as a result, cosmetically, or call it optically, the number may be looking a bit different. But between 2 and 5 and all, the difference isn't much. However, let me just kind of, since we are on the subject of same-store growth, the market is tough. Some of our honorable opposition, who we have a lot of respect for, have delivered numbers which are probably far worse. They are in the negative territory, some of them. But, the way, I would look at it, and the way I would urge you and your viewers to look at it is that you have to build businesses for future. And that's what we are mercilessly focused upon. When we build, for example, in this quarter, we have opened 40 new Domino's stores and nearly 4 Dunkin' Donuts stores, which should, by the end of this fiscal year, we believe around 150 new Domino's stores and around 22 new Dunkin' Donuts stores is what we have opened. Now, these are investments being made, large investments, only because not only do they give us payback periods within acceptable time frames, but we are building capacity for future. We have invested in commissaries and factories because we believe that at least 700-800, there's still potential to open at least 700-800 Domino's stores in India, and Dunkin' is still a new baby, so they have the whole sky in front of them. You may be aware that recently we opened our 1,000th store in India, which is a landmark in itself, because nowhere in the world apart from USA does Domino's have 1,000 stores. Similarly, investments on technology. Online ordering today, is 36-37% of our total delivery sales. It's a big number. And out of that, 38% is mobile-led, online ordering. So we are investing huge amounts on technology because we believe that number can become 50 and 60 and 70% in times to come. And last but not the least is people. So, because even as we grow at 15-20%, we are building in new leaders and we are building in we have to create bench strengths and so on and so forth, leadership pipelines. So, to cut a long story short, I think I would urge you all to look at, our business, and probably what everybody else also is doing is building a business for future, 5-10 years. In the interim, though, I must admit that the situation doesn't look positive, and that's what sometimes the signals people look for.
Yeah. No, I'm just, I don't think anybody doubts the business case or the long-term opportunity. Absolutely no. I mean, when you guys came to the market the first time, it was very evident, and I guess the market bid up the price. But, the market is known to do things in excess, both on the upside and the downside. So let's just leave that aside. But I'm just talking about the business itself. And so when you said you're withdrawing the statement, which you put out, can we now actually say, will you now actually say that, as a result of not seeing any improvement, I mean, will you say we're not likely to see any improvement in the next couple of quarters? Or you're not saying that? But you don't want to give a guidance?
We are definitely not saying that. Let me rephrase, and maybe, while I took a bit of time to explain that, this statement should not be seen negatively. All we are saying it is more a JubilantFoodWorks stance. We are otherwise a conservative company. When we say something, we want to be 100% sure that we deliver on it, and that's what we have tried to do over the last 4 or 5 years. When we say that we want to open so many stores, we have invariably done better than that, and so on and so forth. Now, when we stick our neck out, it was backed with a little bit of positivity. When we said in 4 quarters' time, we should achieve a high single-digit same-store growth. But honestly, we believed that market, how long can it actually be in the state of limbo, or call it inactivity, and how long can the consumer sentiment not kind of become positive? Now, it has belied. The market has belied what we were thinking would happen. And that's why we are now kind of taking this statement back. Having said that, I'm still hopeful, me and my team are still hopeful somewhere that the magical turnaround is around the corner. It will start showing statistically significant shifts of the needle soon. And 3 quarters, 4 quarters from now, I will be more than happy to tell you that while we had withdrawn the statement, but we have arrived where we had kind of told you, and now the market is all kind of booming and so on and so forth. So it is more a Jubilant FoodWorks thing rather than reflective of what is happening in the market. The market continues to be the same, and there is no further negative sentiment that is coming in. It's just the same.
Absolutely. You're still bullish. You don't want to put it out and be sort of held up to it every quarter. I get that.
Absolutely.
The point about store openings.
Our opening of stores. 40.
Yeah, no, just
sorry.
that point. If you continue to see demand conditions being subdued, consumer sentiment being very subdued, would you consider lowering that target as well? Or no matter what, you continue with those targets of store openings?
We could. No, not really. No, no, absolutely. You see, what drives us is not that we have to open a certain number of new restaurants every year. That's not the starting point. The starting point is, are there opportunities in our country where we can open profitable stores which give us payback periods which are acceptable to us, our shareholders, our investors, and everybody else? The day we realize that, no, the sentiment is probably now not good for us to open, so many stores, we will not open. There is no compulsion on us. There is no sword which is hanging from the top. So theoretically, if this condition were to kind of continue and probably go backwards, theoretically, and it's a hypothetical statement, like we have for the last 2 years opened 150 new restaurants. This year we are on our path to opening around 150 new restaurants. Would that number come down? We could bring it down, but it will probably not come down to 50 and 80 and all that. It will still be in hundreds, but we will take a pragmatic approach, to that number. So it could be 140, it could be 135, but it will never be in the 50-80 zone. It will still be a large number because we do still believe headroom, even sitting today, there is headroom to open at least 700-800 Domino's stores over the next 5-7 years in India.
Right. Just a quick bit on discounting, etc. Although I guess that helps the same-store sales growth, etc. But what's your thought process there? And is it going to get deep? Is it going to get bigger, discounting, etc.? More, you'll have to do more?
See, I'll put 3-4 points of data points onto the table here. One, we are a 20-year-old category in India, as much as Domino's has been, around for 20 years. When I compare our market with any other developed market, which has been around for 30, 40, 50 years, the kind of discounting that happens in India, or used to happen till maybe a year and a half back, is far, far, far lower than it is in any part of the world. And I think it's a stage in the evolution of the brand and the category where the consumers still are not so open to discounting. They are probably, still ready to buy it off, at the rack rate and so on. But discounting is supposed to come at some stage. That is data point number one. Number two is what has happened in the last 2-3 years is, by virtue of this first cyclical slowdown, if I may, because in 20 years, if you ask me, while the brands were moving, this is actually the first time for a good sustained couple of years period that the market is not responding too well. I think the knee-jerk reaction from most players, including us, has been a bit of discounting. It is still at a very, very acceptable level, if you ask me. Compare it with any other market and you will realize that we are still a highly less discounted market than anywhere else. And it's a market condition. We throw a stimuli and we expect the consumers to respond in a certain fashion. Third data point is a lot of food aggregators, which was never a part of the evolutionary cycle of Domino's, or for that matter any brand anywhere in the world. Food aggregators and stuff like that who have come into the market are using discounting as a strong tool to invade the market. It's not a sustainable model, and there is enough evidence you must have seen around, but nonetheless they are there and they have a role to play, and we like all of them because they will help the market to grow. Being a part of the ecosystem, we have to also respond. So you will see a bit more discounting happening. I think the fourth point, which is the most important point, is with all this action happening, the idea is at this stage in our evolutionary cycle or life stage of the category, we want more and more consumers to start eating out of home. And I think that's the magical thing that all this discounting thing is doing. While on an aggregate basis, you may argue that some of the volumes or revenue generated is probably coming down marginally, but more than that, the number of new customers who are coming into the net all over the country, trying to experiment food outside of home, trying to find more and more occasions when they can consume not the home food but out of home food, I think is a good sign for the industry. And if it was only supported by a bit of macroeconomic environment improving, I think this market will boom. Compare India with China. We are probably 1/10 the size of the China market. It should not be like that. And India will find its due place in the next 2-3 years, of course supported a bit by the macro environment condition.
Mr. Kaul, thank you very much. Great speaking with you. It's a pleasure, and hope things do turn, because things, when they will turn, they'll turn for hopefully everyone, not just for your industry. Thank you indeed. Appreciate it.
Inshallah. Looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back in 2 minutes. We have the chairman of the largest bank in